HOA changed my locks without warning. They didn't know that door would end their reign. Imagine coming home, exhausted after a long day, only to find your key no longer works. Your home, your sanctuary. What would you do if the very people sworn to protect your community suddenly turned on you, seizing control with an act of blatant authoritarianism? My name is Maya Sharma. My life revolved around my quiet apartment in the Grandview Towers, a high-rise condominium known for its stunning city views and, unfortunately, its increasingly tyrannical homeowners association. I wasn't just a resident. I was a software engineer working remotely on a critical, highly sensitive project for a cutting-edge medical research firm. My apartment was my office, my data secure, and my privacy paramount. This delicate balance, however, was about to be obliterated by the self-proclaimed empress of the HOA, Veronica Sinclair. Veronica was the epitome of polished ruthlessness. Perfectly coiffed blonde hair, designer suits, and a voice that could slice through steel. She ran the HOA like her personal fiefdom, micromanaging everything from potted plants to curtain colors. Her latest decree, pushed through with questionable procedural tactics, was a mandatory aesthetic upgrade to all unit doors. It was expensive, unnecessary, and, for me, deeply problematic. My door was custom reinforced, integrated with biometric security for my work, a necessity for the highly confidential research I was handling. "Ms. Sharma," Veronica had declared, her voice a condescending purr during a particularly acrimonious HOA meeting. "Your current door is an eyesore. It simply doesn't conform to the new, uniform aesthetic we've meticulously designed for Grandview. This is about elevating our property values, something you clearly don't appreciate. You will comply, period. There will be no exceptions. Your security concerns are exaggerated and, frankly, irrelevant to the overall grandeur of our building." Her dismissal of my valid security needs, her outright disdain for my professional life, was breathtaking. Her arrogance radiated, a palpable force in the room. I tried to explain the complexities of my work, the strict compliance protocols, and the immense cost and time it would take to recertify my new security setup if the door was altered. I even offered to install a matching facade on my existing door, blending it seamlessly with the new design without compromising its integrity. "Mrs. Sinclair," I'd reasoned, producing schematics, "this isn't just about aesthetics. My work involves highly sensitive patient data. This door is part of a secure network. Changing it without proper protocol could compromise an entire research project." She merely sniffed, waving away my diagrams as if they were childish scribbles. "Your research project, Ms. Sharma, is your private concern. The visual harmony of Grandview Towers is the HOA's concern. You will receive a notice to schedule the replacement. Refusal will result in daily fines." Her icy resolve was absolute. The notices came, escalating from polite requests to thinly veiled threats of fines that would quickly bankrupt me. I ignored them, hoping she'd eventually move on to some other trivial crusade. How utterly, catastrophically wrong I was. I returned home late one evening, exhausted from a grueling 16-hour coding session, my mind buzzing with complex algorithms. I reached for my key, slid it into the lock, and it wouldn't turn. I tried again. Nothing. Panic flared. This was impossible. I fumbled for my emergency spare, but it too was useless. The lock was different. Someone had changed my locks. My heart hammered against my ribs as a horrible realization dawned. "Veronica." I pounded on the door, then tried my cell. No answer. Furious and disbelieving, I looked closely at the doorframe. Fresh drill marks. A faint, almost imperceptible scratch on the biometric scanner cover. They hadn't just changed the lock. They had damaged my custom security system. My anger, cold and precise, settled over me. This wasn't just an inconvenience. It was an illegal break-in, an act of trespass. As I stood there, reeling, a small, barely noticeable hum caught my attention. Tucked neatly into the corner of the ceiling above my door, camouflaged by the building's paint, was a tiny, flashing blue light. It was a new motion-activated security camera I'd installed just last week, part of a comprehensive home security upgrade. which I had conveniently forgotten to tell the HOA about. It had a rolling 24-hour cloud storage. My mind raced. It had to have captured everything. Every moment of their illegal entry. This wasn't just about my door. It was about something far larger. My project, Project Chimera, was a groundbreaking AI diagnostic tool designed to detect early-stage neurological disorders with unprecedented accuracy. We were weeks away from a major grant presentation, the culmination of years of work that could revolutionize patient care for millions. The security of my data, the integrity of my local server was paramount. Veronica's reckless act of changing my locks and potentially jostling my server racks inside by drilling jeopardized not just my personal security but the entire project. This could set back years of vital medical research, affecting countless lives. This was no longer just an HOA squabble. It was an act of profound negligence with dire public health implications. I finally managed to get a sympathetic security guard to let me into my unit. Inside, my worst fears were confirmed. My server rack, while seemingly untouched, showed a faint flicker of a diagnostic light, indicating a power surge or a momentary disconnect. Data corruption was a real possibility. I immediately began running diagnostics, rage simmering beneath my calm exterior. The next morning, armed with the undeniable video evidence of Veronica's goons, easily identifiable from her maintenance crew, changing my locks, I waited for the weekly HOA meeting. Veronica, radiating her usual imperious calm, was midway through a self-congratulatory speech about the successful implementation of the new door policy. "And I trust all residents are now enjoying the elevated aesthetic," she purred, her eyes sweeping the room, stopping briefly on me with a smug, knowing smirk. "Actually, Mrs. Sinclair," I said, my voice cutting through her monologue, calm but firm. "Some of us are not." I held up my tablet, projecting the crystal-clear security footage onto the large screen behind her. The video showed her maintenance crew, led by a man I recognized as her personal assistant, meticulously drilling out my old lock and installing a new one, all without my presence or permission. The timestamp was undeniable. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Veronica, initially frozen in disbelief, quickly snapped into her default mode of aggressive denial. "That's outrageous. A fabrication. That's not what happened. Your door was defective. We were merely performing a necessary maintenance. You're trying to slander me, Ms. Sharma," she shrieked, her face turning crimson. She started to storm towards the projection, as if she could erase the digital evidence with sheer force of will. "Actually, Mrs. Sinclair, that's precisely what happened." A sharp, authoritative voice cut through the rising chaos. The doors at the back of the room opened, and in walked a formidable woman in a crisp suit, flanked by two serious-looking individuals. It was Eleanor Vance, not the reporter this time, but a highly respected senior attorney from Justice Watch, a renowned legal advocacy group specializing in consumer and resident rights. She had a reputation for taking down corrupt corporate and HOA boards. I had contacted her the previous night, providing the footage and detailing the potential impact on my research. And judging by this footage, combined with Mr. Sharma's sworn affidavit and the police report he filed this morning, this constitutes illegal entry, trespass, and potential property damage, not necessary maintenance. The pressure on Veronica intensified. Eleanor, unflappable, continued, "Furthermore, our preliminary investigation has uncovered a pattern of similar aggressive tactics by this HOA board under your leadership, including unwarranted fines, retaliatory actions against dissenting residents, and questionable financial dealings related to these mandatory upgrades." She looked pointedly at the two individuals with her. "These gentlemen are from the FBI's Cybercrime Division. They're here because Ms. Sharma's research project, Project Chimera, is considered a matter of national strategic importance in medical technology. Your actions, Mrs. Sinclair, may have severely compromised a federally funded initiative aimed at combating neurological diseases." This was the ultimate twist, the bombshell that tied Veronica's petty tyranny to a grander, more devastating consequence. Veronica's bravado completely evaporated. Her face went from crimson to a ghastly pale, then a sickly green. Her eyes darted wildly, fear clouding them as she finally grasped the true gravity of her situation. She started to tremble, her carefully constructed persona shattering into a million pieces. No, I didn't know, it was just a door. He refused to comply, she stammered, her voice a reedy whisper of her former imperiousness. The FBI agents exchanged glances, their expressions grim. The fallout was swift and brutal. Veronica Sinclair was immediately suspended from her position as HOA president, and formal criminal charges for illegal entry, property damage, and potentially obstruction of a federal project were filed. The news of the incident, particularly the involvement of the FBI and the impact on medical research, exploded in the local media. The other HOA board members, terrified of being implicated, quickly distanced themselves, publicly denouncing Veronica and cooperating fully with the investigation. Residents, long suffering in silence, began filing their own complaints and lawsuits against her and the now discredited board. Veronica's empire crumbled. She lost her prestigious HOA position, her social standing in the exclusive Grandview Towers community, and faced ruinous legal battles. Her career as a community leader was over, her reputation in tatters, her hubris repaid in full. As for me, there was a quiet, almost melancholic satisfaction. Project Chimera suffered a minor delay, but my data was ultimately secure. The feeling of violation lingered, a bitter reminder of how quickly petty power can escalate into serious threat. My new door, now fully reinstated with even more robust security, felt like a symbol of resilience. Yet, the question remains, when does maintaining standards become an act of oppression? How far should individuals go to protect their private space and vital work from the unchecked authority of others? And what are the moral implications when such petty power plays threaten advancements that could benefit all of humanity?